Alright, y'all forced my hand. I didn't really want to make an anime podcast, but y'all have left me no choice. I'm just playing, but in all seriousness, welcome to our first episode of our animanga slash adjacent spaces podcast, Anime Sessions. I'm your Sensei Jordan, and this episode is going to be a little longer and different than most of my typical episodes will be. You'll see what I mean about that in a minute, but first I kind of want to just touch ground on what I want this podcast to look like and a little bit more on things like that. Yes, I have it written down on my phone. I don't want to hear anything about it. I have a lot to get through, so just bear with me, all right? All right, it's really simple. The podcast that I'm creating, Anime Sessions, is a podcast that I wanted to make to talk about anime, manga, and anime adjacent spaces. And what I mean by anime adjacent spaces is things like comics, video games, art, cosplays, anything and everything that might mildly relate to anime and manga, I'd like to include a little bit of. And I want to talk seriously about various topics. I don't want to have just your typical hot takes, power scaling, who's cooler conversations about weapons and abilities. Sure, we will have some things of that nature, but all in all, that is not the main premise of this podcast. We will get into the actual podcast portion after I finish my whole spiel here. I will probably put a tag number on the video of the time that the podcast actually starts at. But for now, I would appreciate it if y'all stuck with me and we got through, you feel me, my plans and how I really feel about all of this stuff. Obviously, every episode is going to start off with an introduction. The title of the podcast is Anime Sessions. So obviously, I'm going to say what's good. Welcome back to Anime Sessions. I'm your sensei, Jordan, obviously. And then I think every episode I'm going to give you guys kind of an update on like my personal animanga journey. What I mean by that is that I'm going to talk a little bit about each series that I'm reading or currently watching, and series that I have on my radar. I'm not sure if I will do it every episode now that I think about it. I might do it like every now and then, just so if you are a continuous watcher, you know, you have an expectation of the type of series that we might talk about in an episode. And obviously, it's not completely limited to just what I'm watching or what I'm currently reading. But I feel like if I'm going to use a lot of analogies, it will be to either really popular stuff or the stuff that I'm currently watching. And then we're going to get into like a recent news slash controversy segment. I'm basically going to talk about anything in these adjacent spaces that I was mentioning prior. Whether it be good or bad controversy, kind of talk about it a little, give my opinions on it, and then we'll move from there. Obviously it's podcast format, so if I have a lot to say about something, I'm going to rant about it for a little bit of time. I'm saying all of these in like bullet points and like keeping it quick right here, but keep in mind, like I was saying, this is a podcast and this is my very first podcast. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do with continuously talking and trying to, cover all of my points and keep moving on. But each thing I'm talking about here is going to take a good portion of the podcast. I'm not just going to blow through something. So after we get through the news slash controversy part, we're going to do 2 to 3 takes I have, or opinions, or topics, you could say. And that will be like the main dish of the podcast. Whether it be some topics that I had already picked out, whether it be topics that you guys recommend me in the comments, or you can go to my Discord and recommend me topics there. I will pick topics, 2 to 3 of them, and we will cover them in an episode. I think for today, I'm going to stick with my own, obviously, because I don't have any viewers yet. So if you guys enjoy this and you have topics that you would like me to cover, put them down in the comments. I will make videos talking about them. They might be included in my next episode, and I will definitely shout you out if I use your topic. And then I think right after that is going to be my closing remarks, and I'm gonna kind of close off each episode. For me personally, I don't really have a ton of time to put into content creation, not nearly as much as I used to, which is honestly a shame because I really enjoy this. But nonetheless, I'm going to keep going with my content creation and actually start this podcast. So we're going to keep the episodes really minimal. I'm hoping y'all know I'm a yapper, but I'm hoping to keep them under an hour and a half each time. Really more short formed podcast. I know what I was saying about earlier. I really hate the TikTokification of podcast, and I'm not keeping my podcast short for anybody other than me and my personal life. So I promise you guys that is not an issue that you are going to have to worry about. I just think that about an hour and a half is going to be my cutoff for recording these episodes. That's not including editing or anything like that. That's just me straight up talking to the camera. Also, I'm going to apologize in advance if the video seems choppy or a little laggy. My MacBook is like about to fucking explode. I literally have no solution for it until I get a new computer. So right now we're gonna rock out with this. But the good thing about it being a podcast, I guess, is that there's really no visuals. Y'all are just here to hear my voice. So, I mean, I might even end up putting just like a logo overlay over this so y'all can just get the audio straight up if you prefer that. Honestly, let me know in the comments. If the video is really choppy and like really bugs you guys, I can just do audio and upload it on YouTube like that. I'm going to start off on YouTube. We're going to see how it goes, and I might branch out to like things like Spotify and such. But for now, we're just on YouTube. It's a startup. You feel me? Now I'm going to wrap up before we get into the episode. Honestly, I appreciate everybody who was telling me that I should start my own podcast. I've been thinking about this for a really long time, but I had never just, put the plan into actual action. So here we are. I'd appreciate it if y'all all like the video, drop the sub, and I'm always in my comment section if you guys have improvements, if you have topics you want me to talk about. If you turn on Noti Gang, I will shout you out every single episode, no exaggeration. I think that actually covers all of my plans for talking about my vision for the podcast. Maybe I'll make some more short form videos on other platforms to fully round out my thoughts, but I think I did a good enough job, so I think I'm good enough to get onto the episode like usual. And honestly, we just did an introduction. That shit was like 5 minutes, maybe a little longer. So I'm not going to do an introduction this time. I'm just going to go right from giving you guys kind of my current reads, and then we'll go into our news, we'll go into takes, and then we'll end up wrapping up from there. So as of recently, I am still reading a whole bunch of manga series. And I just started a couple of animes. I am watching Frieren currently. We watched the first 4 episodes on a watch party in Discord. If you guys want to join our watch parties, click the link in the bio. Join up on the Discord anime community. That's where we do all of our events and things like that. So I'm watching Frieren. I picked up personally Kaiju number 8. I finished episode 5. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's Saturday, so episode 6 is coming out, and I most definitely have to watch that. I'm enjoying Kaiju number 8 so much. I might honestly have to make my own video about that. Let's see. In terms of mangas, I have so many. I'm still on Goodnight Pun Pun. I'm still on volume 1. I keep putting it down and picking it back up. Honestly, that's a problem for me. I'm reading Invincible. I know it's not a manga, but it's a comic. Like I said, adjacent spaces. That's what we're here for. Let's see what else I have. I'm doing Chainsaw Man, Blue Lock. All right, let's just pull up the whole list, honestly, because like I said, I'm reading a decent amount of series right now. So we're just gonna read the list off to you guys. I'm reading Black Clover. I'm reading Blue Lock. I'm reading My Hero Academia. I'm reading Chainsaw Man. I'm reading Gachi Akuda, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kagurabachi, One Piece, One Punch Man, and Sakamoto Days. I'm not going to cover each of those specifically. I just want to give you guys literally the roundabout of what I'm currently into, so that if you guys have something you want to recommend to me, or you have something that you would like me to talk about, go ahead and let me know, and we can get it done that way pretty much. But if you have a topic that is relating to any of the series that I am currently reading, or the ones that I had mentioned I'm watching, then put it in the comments also for me to talk about. If there's room for me to talk about something, or if there's a question or a topic that you would like me to seriously cover, I promise you I'm all for it. I think that pretty much covers all of my current reads and current watches. So I think we're going to get into a little bit of news. Recently, the new Demon Slayer episode dropped. If you guys did not watch it, I believe it came out in the movie theaters. It was a new episode of Demon Slayer. It covered kind of the trailer for the Hashira training arc. And I mean, it was phenomenal. I'm super excited. I think they're going to do a really good job at captivating us for a Hashira training arc. A lot of people are really upset because season 3 didn't hold up to the weight that season 2 had. But season 2, like, I want you guys to understand the absolute peak that season 2 was. Like, stories have peaks and lulls, and Demon Slayer season 2 was definitely a peak in the story. It, in my opinion, like, season 2 is the highest peak for, like, right now as the story continues anime wise. Season 2 is a really high peak. Season 3 kind of dips down a little. The Hashira training arc kind of stays around the same hype as season 3 for me. And then when we get into this final arc, I promise you, everybody and their mother will be talking about Demon Slayer. I will try my best to keep spoilers out of stuff or give warnings if I'm going to talk about spoilers. But that final arc of Demon Slayer is phenomenal. Like, literally everybody's going to be talking about Demon Slayer. The fights, oh my god, the fights, the story literally gets wrapped up in such a nice and complete way, especially for Demon Slayer. A lot of people give hate to Demon Slayer because its writing isn't, top tier, but your writing doesn't have to be top tier when you're telling your story in a conveying way. You feel me? That's where a lot of people get wrapped up in the hate with Demon Slayer. Like, not everything has to be a written masterpiece. Some things can just be cool. Demon Slayer's cool as hell. The fights are really dope. The story progresses very well. And I'm super excited to see how the training arc captures that and then pushes us into this final arc. I definitely also think that there is one more movie coming. I literally call it the Mugen Train effect. Ever since Mugen Train came out, excuse me, animes and manga series have been pushing movies crazy. Damn. Animes and mangas have been pushing movies crazy, and rightfully so. Mugen Train did a lot of money. So I definitely think that there is one more movie coming in the Demon Slayer series. Coming next, oh my gosh, actually we just got this bit of news earlier today. Hold on y'all, I'm getting a phone call. We actually got more news today on Sakamoto Days. Netflix is actually picking up the anime. Now, if Netflix actually puts all of their time and attention into Sakamoto Days anime, it will be very good. Am I hopeful? Yes. Do I think that they actually will do a good job? It's hard to mess up, man. Like, if you read Sakamoto Days, it is going to be a hard anime to mess up. But if there's anybody who can figure out how to do that, it is Netflix. I promise you that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully they do the series justice. Like I said, if they put their time and effort into it, Netflix can produce a banger. Netflix has all the utilities and facilities to produce a good anime out of Sakamoto Days. I need that in my life, especially being a fan of reading Sakamoto Days. And let me see. And I'm trying to think what other news there is that I can cover today. I think that that's all that I'm going to cover for anime. But we will most definitely talk a little bit about Assassin's Creed. If you don't know, Assassin's Creed has a new game coming out. It is set in Japan. The two characters are a woman and a black samurai named Yasuke. Or Yasuke. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And obviously there's a lot of controversy around it because people are misogynist and racist. I mean, I don't really think that there's much more to it. They're both accurate to history. And if we're talking about being accurate to history, in a world where time travel is canonical, you can dive from 1,000 feet in the air into a haystack and live. And the Pope was a actual wizard. We are worried about historical accuracy. Like, what are we actually talking about here? I think that they picked two really dope characters to portray Japan's Assassin's Creed style. And I think that the game's going to be cool nonetheless. The last Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, was a little lazy. I don't play Assassin's Creed, but my brother loves Assassin's Creed. I used to watch him play every single playthrough. I watch playthroughs of Assassin's Creed. It's just personally not the type of game I want to play, but I love watching it. I think that if they put more effort into it than the last Assassin's Creed, then we have absolutely no problem. Literally, I don't know what it is. I feel like some people just needs something to be mad about, man. Like, we're upset about two cool ass main characters. When was the last time we saw a Japanese woman as a main character in anything? When was the last time we saw a black man a main character in anything? And literally, if we are arguing historical accuracy, they are the most two accurate characters to portray. I'm not saying that Japanese men don't exist as samurai and what have you, but if we're going extensive into fantasy and lore, why not pick two really cool characters like Yasuke and a woman assassin? I feel like that's dope. I don't think that there's much more that I have to touch on about that. I just figured it was interesting to bring up. I'm seeing so much discourse about like realism in a fantasy game. Like, hear me out. If you think that like I what I find so funny about fantasy, honestly, what I'm saying right here is going to morph into one of my takes for the episode. But if your fantasy world has elves, magic, mystical beings, and doesn't include any diversity, you literally think that that is more realistic than diversity. You feel me? Like, you can picture dragons in your world more than you can picture black people, more than you can picture strong women. And that is genuinely a problem that a lot of people need to reflect on, especially when giving heavy critiques about a game like Assassin's Creed. If you have any other arguments as to why you wouldn't like, you know, Yasuke, a black main character, and a woman assassin as the main characters, then I'm all ears for them. But a lot of them are disingenuous when you're talking about a fantasy world being historically accurate, because y'all don't know what the Assassin's Creed games are like then. You feel me? I think that that's going to conclude our little news segment. Every time we're just going to have a few topics for the news segment to talk about. Like I said, all of these episodes are up to you guys. If you guys want me to talk about something, join my Discord and let me know there. Or leave a comment down below. You will be featured in an episode, I promise you. And now we are going to get on to our takes. I leave a lot of takes written down in my phone, and most of them are going to be general about media, but some of them are going to be more specific to a certain series if I feel the need to talk about a series that day, or if I feel so inclined. You feel me? I think we're going to start off pretty tame today, and we're going to have our first take be that animation is the best medium for telling a drawn story. What I mean by that is that comics and manga translate best over animation. I think one of the biggest reasons that I never got into comics, especially after the whole rise of Marvel and the DC universe, is the fact that it just wasn't like going from live action to comics is such a drastic leap. Nobody ever asks for live action, dog. I promise you, nobody asks for live actions. Marvel is one of the very rare cases where they pulled it off and made it bigger than what it has been, you know, in terms of history for translating a drawn story. But yeah, I never got into comics really because I just would see the live action and then think to myself, like, I don't know, like, I never really, like, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I personally, like, the Marvel movies are cool, the concept's cool, but I could never, like, really indulge myself in Marvel because I'm watching actors. Like, I don't want to watch actors. Maybe that's just, like, me being, like, a super, like, animation head or animation fan or whatever, but, like, I'm good off of the actors. I would like to see this literal drawn story come to life, because there are some things that you can't capture in live action, which is completely fine. But That should be the third iteration of translating a story. You shouldn't have a story be drawn and then it come into live action. It should be drawn, should be animated, and then if it's still popular, make it a live action. Kind of how Avatar The Last Airbender is. Obviously, they tried that live action before making more animated series, and it failed miserably. But that's kind of my point about that. I think when we're talking in terms of just manga to anime especially, there's nothing better than like storyboarding a drawing. When I talk like, so the reason I feel the way that I feel about this take is when you look at a series like Sakamoto Days. If you look at Sakamoto Days and you actually have read Sakamoto Days, you can see the drawings actually be turned to life. Like, I swear to you, it is the craziest thing. Once I started reading, first I started off watching anime. Once I started getting into manga, I started realizing how much the art plays in interpreting the animated series. If you look at a series like Sakamoto Days, you read the manga, you can literally, it's like you're watching it happen animated. I promise you. There are some panels in Sakamoto Days where you're like, dog, this will go so hard animated. And I know we all have that feeling every time we read an anime, a manga. I know we all have that feeling every time we read a manga, a manhwa, or what have you, bro. Like, damn, this would go hard animated. And I think Sakamoto Days is definitely going to do that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I have to add to that, but I really think that that's just it. I think that animation captures pictures better than live action does. I feel like that's not even that hot of a take, but these big labels for some reason cannot wrap their head around the fact that people want animated stories, especially with how big animation has become as of recently. Like, animation is literally on the rise. Why not capitalize on that by animating stories, bro? And I can understand having a good actor play a good role, but I don't think there's anything better, in my opinion, than a good voice actor. Because with live acting, you can you feel me? You can see the emotion. When you're a voice actor, you have to make me feel all the emotion through just your voice. I think like a perfect example of a good voice actor right now is goodness, I can't think of his name. Let me look it up really quick. But Mark Grayson's voice actor for Invincible. I have to give him his credit, so I have to find his name. Steven, I don't want to mispronounce his last name. Yeun. Yeah, he's a phenomenal voice actor. There's just a certain level of magic that goes into animation, and voice acting is just one of those things that's almost unexplainable. You feel me? If you look up like the best voice acting moments on like YouTube or something like that, like you can feel the gut-wrenching screams, you can feel the heartbreaking cries, you can feel the blood-boiling rage, and I just don't think that live acting can capture that as well. Like I said, call me an anime maniac or whatever you want, but that is always the take I will have about animation. Animation is the best medium. All right, let's get on to our second take of the day. Well, honestly, this kind of is going to be like two takes. But my take is that, one, a character's appearance shouldn't matter, and two, diversity in a story is important. So let me elaborate a little when I talk about a character's appearance not mattering when it comes to a story. A character's appearance should not matter in the story when their appearance has nothing to do with the character themselves. One of the best examples that I have of this is Amber in Invincible. When I started reading Invincible, I didn't even realize that Amber was white, because there's nothing about her character that, suggests that anything other. When you have an opportunity to make a character a different race and it's for free, it doesn't harm or diminish the story at all, why not do it? And the reason that ties in with me thinking that diversity in a story is important is because diversity in a story is literally world building. Diversity is so important. Diversity is world building. It is literal world building. Everything about a story is world building. People of different races, people of different sexualities, people of different backgrounds of life, all attributes to your story, regardless of whether you genuinely capture that in your story or not. That's like a story taking place in Egypt, and that's like, yeah, I'll use it. I'll use it. That's like a story taking place in Egypt and only being centered around white people. You feel me? Like, it doesn't make sense because there are Egyptian people in Egypt. So basically, like, if you're not, like, if you, and this is for any of my story writers out there, or if you're ever in the mood to just critique the series that you read, because I do that all the time. I make notes in my notes about stories and critique them all the time. World building is important. It immerses you in the story. If there's no diversity in it, then you're not going to care what happens. Another great example of that is Naruto. All of the ninjutsu, all of the different tribes, all of their different abilities, all of the stories being told about former Kages, former forbidden jutsus, all of that is world building. And that's what makes the story so immersible, because it's so deep in lore. Obviously, I could get into like One Piece being diverse, but like that's going to take me a whole nother episode to talk about. But like all of the big, long, strenuous stories that you guys like have diversity in them, and it's for a reason. It's because it makes the story more realistic. Like, I'm not saying that, like, as a black person, I'm not saying that like I have to look and see black people everywhere I go in every story, but it's like, this story's about superpowers and superhumans, and a single black person isn't here. They just fell off the face of the earth, you feel me? So I think that's pretty much me tying in those two takes back to the Assassin's Creed topic. Dog, it's gonna be so hard to edit this because I have like scatterbrain. But yeah, man, I think that those are the two takes that I'm gonna end this series off with. I think we're gonna do our closing remarks. I know I said that I don't want any of my episodes to go over an hour and a half, but like I was saying when I started this, I would like my series to be on the shorter end of things. I would like half hour episodes if I could every time. If I can't, then that's fine too. But I think that's like the ballpark I'm trying to shoot for, unless I have like a guest or something, or you guys, recommend me more topics than I have anything to do with. I think that I'm going to stay like around the 30 to an hour mark. So honestly, I think I'm going to end my take segment there. I appreciate everybody who's stuck around for the first episode. I appreciate you if you watched the beginning, because that means a lot to me. Being able to set up the structure of each episode and kind of tell you guys what's going to go on. And also, hopefully you guys understand that you guys are included in this. Like, this is a community effort on my part. I would really implore anybody who watched this episode to click the link in the description and join the Discord. I have an anime community Discord where we do things like talk about anime, manga, recommendations. We talk games. We just talk life regularly. We have watch parties, and we're hoping to have more events and things like that. We are doing a giveaway when we get about 70 more members once we hit 200 officially. So yeah, I would really appreciate if you guys join that. You can also check out all of my other socials in the descriptions. I post almost daily on TikTok. I post on Instagram. I tweet occasionally. One day we will get our Twitch up and running. Unfortunately, we are having some technical issues right now with that, so we had to put that on the back burner. I can't make any promises about how long apart my episodes will be, but I'm shooting for about weekly, maybe a week and a half. I have like 3 days off a week, so I should have a good opportunity to make some episodes. My life is about to get busy here in a minute. I've got some pretty exciting things coming up as of recent, But yeah, I think that's everything. I really appreciate everybody who took their time out to watch. But yeah, hopefully I felt podcasty enough for you guys. I don't know. This is my first time doing this. Hopefully, I was putting together my thoughts cohesively enough and like actually going in depth about the stuff that I care about, because I do. And hopefully, I'm not what I was making out all those other podcasts to seem. So let me know the job I did. Let me know if you guys want the episodes to be longer. I promise you I can make them longer. But yeah, take care, y'all. Peace and love.